Hey everyone, welcome to the Mono Report. Welcome to our first daily topic. We'll be covering news items that drop in the world of movies. I'm your host Mono, otherwise known as Jonathan Spiroff. And today's topic is a big one that's sort of been looming the DC community, DC film community, over this past weekend. For those of you who aren't aware, there's been quite a fair bit of displacement and major chaos sort of behind the scenes at Warner Brothers and DC with trying to arrange their DCEU, the DC Extended Universe. This news comes from The Hollywood Reporter. Last week, we'd learnt that after Ben Affleck had dropped out of directing The Batman, that Warner Brothers were looking at Cloverfield and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes director Matt Reeves as possibly taking over, which would have been a great choice. Among a few other names, Ridley Scott had been mentioned, which I always saw as a pretty unlikely chance of him ever directing a Batman or even any sort of superhero film. And the other one was Fede Alvarez, who directed Don't Breathe and the 2013 version of Evil Dead. But even still, Fede still seems very caught up in his horror world with Sam Raimi, so both of those guys I really don't see getting into any superhero flicks anytime soon. But Matt Reeves seemed like a pretty logical choice because he finishes War of the Planet of the Apes, comes out in, I believe, August. And so that would mean there's a fair amount of time for him to sort of get stuck into his next project, which would be The Batman, the next standalone Batman film from DC. But it seems as though that hasn't worked out for them, that perhaps Warner Brothers wanted something a bit sooner, and Matt Reeves possibly wouldn't have wanted to start pre-production on The Batman while War of the Planet of the Apes is still in post-production. Considering how VFX intensive those films, the Planet of the Apes films are, I'm thinking, maybe Reeves would have a fair amount of time off of his hands since they're mainly waiting for those effects to be finished by the different post-production companies. But it seems as though Reeves is pretty intent on keeping a close eye on everything that gets put together for the film before it's released. So possibly, Warner Brothers was looking to get a head start on making the Batman, but Reeves wanted to take his time and wait things out a bit. But The Hollywood Reporter does mention that when heads cool, talks could resume between Warner Brothers and Matt Reeves. When a term like cool heads is used in a report, that means it was there may have been some fairly intensive arguments at the studio, which isn't really great news. But however, other reports are starting to come out that perhaps Matt Reeves' agent was trying to get some more money out of Warner Brothers, and that's where the argument was really at. So at the moment, we don't really have any official sort of reason as to why, or any official statement from anyone other than the fact that they've decided to exit negotiations. So disappointing news for the DC Extended Universe. I'm someone who actually quite liked Batman vs Superman, especially the Ultimate Edition, but I wasn't quite a fan of Suicide Squad. I enjoyed it the first time I saw it, but after a number of repeated viewings, I actually sort of started to dislike it even more, and I absolutely love Man of Steel. So while at the moment things are sort of a bit unclear with the DC film universe, we still hold out hope that if Wonder Woman, which comes out in June, knocks things out of the park, then things will start to be a bit brighter for the DC film universe, because at the moment a lot of DC film fans, and rightly so, are feeling a bit jaded and disappointed with how the treatment of some of their beloved characters have been handled. These are characters that deserve justice and to be served correctly, So for DC film fans like myself and those out there that are concerned, personally, my message to Warner Brothers would be to take their time. There are fans of these characters that have been fans for decades, many generations, that just want to see these characters done correctly. So take your time. You've got amazing material at your hands. There's no need to be trying to appease stockholders at the sake of giving fans a quality product, because at the end of the day, all of us just want is a quality film featuring some of our favourite superheroes of all time. So thank you for joining me for this very first Mono report on Matt Reeves exiting negotiations. During the week there will be more movie reports dropping, and I will comment on the ones that are usually the biggest and deserve the spotlight during the week, and then on the weekends I'll obviously compile sort of smaller news stories that drop into the bigger podcast. So keep an eye out for that, and we'll break it all down, and hopefully you get something out of it. So thank you for listening. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Otherwise, comment below if you're worried or have your concerns about the DC Films universe. Let us know in the comments, and get the discussion going. Where do you want to see Warner Brothers take the DC film universe? What do you want to see them do with it? Are you confident with where it is right now? Do you think this is all just pre-production, messing around, which is usually the case with big budget tentpole films like this? Thank you, and let me know what you think. Bye.